that the reason people should take vaccines is to create herd immunity. What is herd immunity?
Well, the first reason to take the vaccine is to protect yourself, your family, and your community. Herd immunity refers to a situation where you have a high percentage of people who are vaccinated so that when the virus enters the community, there are so few people to attack that the virus has a difficulty in propagating itself. And by herd immunity means you get an umbrella of protection because so many people are protected that when the virus comes in, it spreads only when there are a lot of vulnerable people. But if a certain percentage of the people are protected, like with measles, if you get 90% of the people vaccinated with measles, 91, 92%, when you get measles introduced into the community, it will not spread. But if you get down the level to in the 80s, there's enough vulnerable people that the virus can spread. They use the word herd. You know what it refers to? You ever see when you look at the movie pictures of Africa where you see the herds of wildebeest and the lions are trying to get to them, and you have all of the adult wildebeest around, and the weak ones, the older ones or the babies, they're in there, but there are few of them. The herd protects the vulnerable because in this case, the lion or whatever the animal is that is the prey animal that's trying to prey on them can't get to the vulnerable ones because there's too many people that are protected. That's why they use the word herd immunity.
Got it. Got it. Now, if herd immunity is of paramount importance, what can be done with all the undocumented immigrants that will not want to get a vaccine out of fear of deportation?
Yeah, that's a very important question. And the Department of Homeland Security has made it very clear that there will be nothing punitive associated with getting vaccinated. So undocumented immigrants who get vaccinated will not be pursued for the fact that they are undocumented. That has been a promise from the Department of Homeland Security.
No questions asked.
We heard that.
Man, I tell you, that was a brilliant, rather, for the most part, brilliant interview by Eugenio Derbez. Eugenio Derbez. A lot of people say they haven't heard of him, but I bet you a lot more ladies have heard of Eugenio Derbez. It's my understanding that Overboard, the remake of Overboard, who was it before Goldie Hawn and Kurt Russell, was it? The original. Eugenio Derbez and Anna Faris redid the movie, reversing the roles. And Eugenio has decided that he was going to try to get to the bottom of some things as far as the vaccination is concerned with Dr. Fauci. Something that the rest of the media doesn't seem to be able to do, including you, Fox News. Fox News. Ada Jet Noise. Facebook. Rumble. YouTube. Parlor, if they ever get their room straightened out. I'll call it a room. Thank you. Thank you for joining me. Dr. Fauci running his usual wishy-washiness. If you watched that interview, I posted that on Facebook, and it was very interesting. It was indeed an interesting interview. They they got Eugenio, I'll say, got to the bottom of things. They made Fauci answer a few things that he doesn't necessarily have to answer with most of the media, especially his beloved left wing media. He loves to be on camera, huh? Yeah, you can't get rid of the guy. And we're putting it we're putting it all in the boat of him being important, of him being important. He's the face of COVID, right? He's the guy that we turn to when we feel we need some information, and even though for the most part he's back and forth with all his information, he has there is no solid ground. If you really pay attention to him, here's part of the problem. If you really pay attention to him, you'll see he's literally playing tennis with his facts. He'll tell you on one network, yeah, you really need to wear a mask. You need to wear a mask until like 2027. And then he'll get on another network that the viewers may think a little bit differently. And then he'll give you, we have to consider just how effective the mask will be. He's, again, back and forth. I mean, he started off like that, right? The very, very beginning, he said, no mask. Masks aren't going to do anything. Masks aren't really going to do anything. And then, like, days later, wear a mask. Just recently, 2 masks. You should wear 2 masks. 3 masks. 3 masks will really get it done. So, Fauci continues to do the same thing. But Eugenio Derbez, again, Mexican-American actor. Probably most people on both sides of the border would know Eugenio from Overboard. He's done a few other American movies, but Overboard is probably it's a lead role for him. So, but a popular American comedic actor, doing the job, Mexican American actor doing the job of what the American media is supposed to be doing, which is really rather sad. The reason I played that one part was because of course, Eugenio is being Mexican in this day and age. His concern is going to be about what's happening at the border. He's going to want anyone and everyone that wants to cross that border to get across that border. He doesn't see it as anything else as the land of opportunity, not a land with laws. He doesn't see the United States as a land with laws. He sees a land of opportunity. And indeed, it can be. But when you start to abuse the system, which is what's happening down in the border, people abusing our lackadaisical government that is simply trying to hold down the fort. I shouldn't say this particular government is trying to hold down the fort. Our laws are set to hold down the fort, but we're just bypassing all those laws, and we're letting this flood come in. Now, it's ugly now. The visual is ugly now of what's happening at the border, but the effects will happen, I'd say, far sooner than you think. I think in 3 years, you're going to start to feel the effects, where it's going to, the burden on the economy, the jobs, people are going to start losing jobs. Because get this, they they said nobody wants to be a salad picker, a strawberry picker, a lettuce picker. Excuse me, salad, just salad, the garden of salads. Uh, the lettuce picker, strawberry picker, those jobs um, existed among illegal immigrants, or I should say, were popular among illegal immigrants because they had those were the jobs that they could get. Those were the jobs they can get because of their legal status here in the United States. That's all being wiped out right now, particularly right now by this administration. All that's being wiped out. They will be able to get the jobs that are, dare I say, far better than lettuce picker, strawberry guy, strawberry picker, cleaning lady. They will be in positions where they can get better jobs, and that starts to affect the American worker. All right? Those that you can start talking about mechanics jobs and more retail jobs. All the jobs very, very, again, I'm not putting down any of the jobs. What I'm saying is that there's not going to be that the jobs that Americans don't want to do. They're now going to be able to get the jobs that Americans want to do, if that's a better explanation. So that's what's happening. That's what's going to happen, and we're going to see that. Oh, the bell! I must have hit something. I must have said something that I really mean. No, that's what's going to happen within the next few years. It's going to happen for as long as there's a Biden administration. Even if it's only 4 years, we're going to start to feel the effects of what's happening on the border today. The other part that we're going to start feeling is the criminal activity. The criminal activity that's crossing the border. Now, was it just over 4 years ago where the left and Mexican American elitist were blaming Trump by saying that he was a racist for saying that rapists and those people crossing the borders are rapists and murderers, and which is not what he said. He did say that rapists and murderers are crossing the border. He didn't say that everyone that was crossing the border was a rapist and a murderer. He didn't call them bad people. He said that bad people were coming with those people. Now, you can turn that into what you want, and they did. They absolutely did. But the truth is indeed that criminals are crossing the border with people that are with some people that actually are looking for a better way of life. And but here I'm gonna play. Let's play Nancy Pelosi. Just recently, Nancy was talking to George Stephanopoulos, and he had mentioned that what's going on at the border crisis. He didn't necessarily call it a crisis, but he asked Nancy, and this is all set up. This is all set up. You can tell by Nancy's answer, it's all bullet point. It's all blame Trump. It's all blame Trump for the border crisis that's happening now. Now, Trump did what he could. He promised so much more on the border. He did what he could. I think he had to let go of a few ropes. It's obvious that he had to let go of a few ropes. He was going to have to break some of the promises that he campaign promises that he made. But he certainly supported what protecting that border, gave resources, built more wall, all on the border. He gave ICE as well as the DHS a chance to try to control the madness. And if you don't believe that it was going to be madness, look at it now. There's a facility now that's at 729% capacity. 729% capacity. These are people stacked up on top of each other. And the children are in far worse conditions than whatever Jennifer Lopez and Demi Lovato and Alexandria Cortez. Far, far worse conditions than what the mess that they were talking about just a couple of years ago. They look like idiots, and none of them are helping. Those three people, all filthy, rich. None of them are helping the conditions that are going on at the border right now. But yeah, I'm going to play Nancy Pelosi, and she is going to explain to you exactly what is happening at the border and why, indeed, it is happening.
Actually, the facts are these. There are more children, about 600-700 more children, unaccompanied children, coming over the border. This is a humanitarian challenge to all of us. What the administration has inherited is a broken system at the border, and they are working to correct that in the children's interest. I'm so pleased that the president, as a temporary measure, has sent FEMA to the border in order to help facilitate the children going from 72-hour issue into where they are cared for as they are transferred into family homes or homes that are safe for them to be. So this, again, is a transition for what was wrong before to what is right. Of course, we have to also look to Central America and Mexico and the rest. The corruption, the violence, all of that so bad. My most recent trip to the Northern Triangle, that would be Honduras, Guatemala, El Salvador, you saw the impact of the climate change, mind you. These people were leaving because of the drought. They couldn't farm, and they were seeking other ways to survive. So there are many reasons that go into this, but the fact is we have to deal with it at the border. And some of the people coming there are seeking asylum. And I always like to quote our friends.
All right.
At one of our rump hearings we had before we had the majority.
Just shut up. Shut up. Trump. They inherited this nonsense. This was not happening. None of this was happening. None of this was happening. Trump. I hate to just champion. I'm trying not to champion Trump right now, because that's neither here nor there at this moment. The problem that's happening right now on the border has nothing to do with Trump. Trump was the one that said, do not come here. He begged. He, put his he virtually put his foot down. Please do not come here. We are not in a position to handle that kind of influx. This injection, this mass injection of people that technically do not belong here. You can come here through the proper channels, through vetting. If you're willing to participate in the country. No one is stopping you, but the issue is, if they cannot be vetted, they instantly become a burden. They instantly become a burden. That's what we're dealing with. And like I was talking about before, the criminals that are crossing the border, along with the good people, the idea that I even have to say that is ridiculous. The along with the good people, the criminal activity, just the flat out criminals that are crossing the border are putting a massive burden on our system now, and they will make things uglier within our neighborhoods, within our job system, our penal system. He said penal. Assault and battery, domestic violence. In 2016, these are people that are convicted. They were convicted. They crossed the border. They were found to be criminals or charged with criminal activity. And in fiscal year 2016, 1,007 people were charged in their homeland for assault, battery, domestic violence. By fiscal year 2020, we were able to get that down to 208. 208 people convicted of assault, battery, and domestic violence from their homelands somewhere south of the border, Guatemala, Venezuela, Mexico, what have you. Panama, what have you. Year to date, remember, in fiscal 2020, we were able to get it down to 208 people from 1,007 people in 2016. Each year, it declined a little bit more. 17, 692. 2018, 524. In 2019, 299. Fiscal year 2020, 208. Year to date, that have crossed the border, which is January 1, Biden's inauguration, to today. The number 484. 484. At that pace, we will far exceed the 1,007 in 2016. Just driving under the influence is another one that's interesting, because that one affects everyone on the road. So driving under the influence, drunk drivers. In 2016, 2,458 people across the border that were convicted of drunk driving. In fiscal year 2020, it was brought down to 364. 364 people that were convicted. of drunk driving somewhere south of our southern border. Year to date, 715. Again, if this keeps up, we have there's no stopping, and they will at least get it back to 2,400 people at this pace. Homicide and manslaughter, which is an interesting one. In 2016, it was 8, 17, 3, 2018, 3, 2019, 2, 2020, 3, year to date, 3. Homicide and manslaughter. They're getting in. They're getting in. Illegal weapons possession, transport, and trafficking. 237 people in 2016. 49 got in across the border. In 2020, 140. 140 so far year to date. Sexual offenses, which is the one that really, really rips me to shreds, is again, sexual offenses, because that is going to go against women and children. And that's the one that bothers me the most. 155 sexual offenders got in 2016. And here's the other thing that bothers me, is the number stays strong. In 2017, 137 went down. In 2018, 80 sexual offenders got through. 2019, 58 sexual offenders got through. In 2020, 156 sexual offenders got through. The problem I have, particularly, is why sexual offense is so stinking dominant in just about everything we do. In just about everything we do. Because year to date, we went from 156 in 2020, which is already higher than 2016. We went to 210 year to date. Sexual offenders that crossed the border. Why is that crime so incredibly high? But I digress. According to data from Girls Not Brides, Girls Not Brides is a global nonprofit against child marriage. The child marriage rates for girls in Latin America, countries from which we are seeing an increase in illegal immigration, are particularly high, especially in rural areas. The organization estimates 34% of all married Honduran women were with their male spouses as minors. That's a thing that we frown upon in the United States. Indeed, for goodness sake, I can hear somebody screaming right now. Well, you think that happens here? Of course it happens here. And it is a problem. Marrying underage is unnecessary. There was a time long ago where a healthy woman was a very young woman. A healthy woman was a very young woman. People didn't live as long. Like they said in Jurassic Park, life will find a way. And it's no different for human beings. So underage relations were humans finding a way to survive on the earth. Now, completely unnecessary, but still a thing, apparently, in many places south of the border. And that brings that mentality here. hide your daughters. One report from 30% of North Carolina counties found that in just 18 months period, in an 18-month period, in 2018 and 2019, more than 331 illegal aliens have been charged with 100. I said 100. More than 331 illegal aliens have been charged with 1,172 child rapes and child sexual assaults. The numbers are right there. The numbers are indeed right there. Our crisis at the border is incredibly bad right now. And it's going to get far worse. It's going to get far worse. And I'm telling you, it's not going to take any more than 3 years for you to feel the effects in your workplace, in your emergency rooms. And this has nothing to do with these people being Latin, Hispanic, Latinx, Latino, whatever it is you want to call them. This has nothing to do with that. What it has to do with is that all countries have some sort of immigration policy. And the United States has decided to completely wipe theirs out for politics. Completely wipe theirs out for politics. One party trying to keep itself in power, and the other party not willing to do a damn thing about it. Not willing to protect. No one is willing to stand up for the country. Look, excuse me. This is becoming exhausting, and it's going to get far, far more exhausting. And right now, many of our friends and family are not willing to talk about this. Libertarian, conservative, socialist, liberal, if they call themselves Democrat or Republican, I'm all for change. I'm progressive. I don't want any change. Whatever they're landing on, none of them are willing to talk about this. They will when it's too late. You say, what can we do now? Well, at this point, all we can do is remember these days and take it to the polls, take it to the polling place, and just pray that the new left-leaning, voting process that is going to be put in place has a loophole to put someone back in office that's willing to at least try to clean up what's happening at the border, because we got a problem, folks. We got a problem, and enough of us aren't speaking up now. Enough of us aren't doing anything now. The other thing too is that we may not want all those people down there. We don't want these poor children down there that are down. They're literally they're not with their parents. They may have crossed the border with some adults, but they're not with their parents, and they're pretty much abandoned kids down there. You can't find the parents. You can't release the kids back to Mexico, or I should say in the direction of Mexico, because many of them are not, again, Mexican. So these kids are stuck. You heard Pelosi say that they're sending down FEMA to help with transfer. FEMA's not going to help with transfer. FEMA's not going to help a damn thing down there. We're sending money in their direction under the pretty idea that they're going to come and save the day, but that's certainly not going to happen. So you can forget that one. But again, we've got a very serious issue down there, and enough of us are not willing to or talk about it. We need to what I wanted to say just a second ago was we do need to help those kids down there, because again, they are kids. They're being locked up in containers. They're stacked on top of each other in shipping containers. That's not who we are as a country. That's what Trump was adamant about. Please do not come down here. We just cannot handle that situation. And we can't. We cannot. Frustrating. The other thing that's going on that's just out of control, nuts, is why is the military going after Tucker Carlson? Now that sounds like a nothing kind of statement, but indeed, why is the military coming after Tucker Carlson? Just last week, Tucker got on Fox News and was talking about, he wasn't talking about women in the military. He was talking about, well, he didn't say it like, he didn't say this, but I'll say it. The demasculization of the military. Right now, Tucker was introduced. He presented. He showed. He didn't introduce. He showed the introduction of flight suits to fit pregnant women. Flight suits to fit pregnant women. I heard Jason Buttrill, a story from Jason Buttrill, where when they were in Afghanistan, when he was in Afghanistan, he said one of the key issues on the base that he was on in Afghanistan, arguably the biggest issue was how and where they were going to facilitate the pregnant women on the base. Now, I don't know how many of you feel. I don't have any problem with women wanting to defend the country. That is, it's literally been, for as far as I know. Well, let me put it in a better. If you ever look at the painting of Washington crossing the Delaware, it's a boat full of people. What you don't notice immediately is there is a black man on that boat. There's a face. There's another person that I believe he as well could have been of color. But there's also a woman on that boat. There's a woman on that boat. Look at the original painting of Washington crossing the Delaware. Not the Funko Pop. the original painting of Washington crossing the Delaware. There's a woman on that boat. So women, indeed, have every right and every ounce of passion to fight for their country. Um, there are women um, as men. There are women that want to fight just as much as men for their country. Now, if we're being honest, we know that the physical differences between men and women, not the passion, physical differences between men and women, exist. There it is. They exist. We if we're going to, they always argue the science, right? Everything is a follow the science. Science is never wrong until it doesn't agree with me. So, if we're honest, we know that men are physically stronger than women. The passion for the fight could be exactly the same. It doesn't mean that women should not be fighting for their country. It does mean that if we have to start issuing maternity flight suits, maternity combat uniforms, maternity cockpits, if we have to start doing that if we have to start doing that, are we giving the military exactly what they need? Asking for a friend. Because we're tailoring the military for arguably the most vulnerable in the military. You don't put a person in a wheelchair necessarily on the front line. Right? Not a whole lot of cockpits with wheelchair accessibility. But if you can't fit between you and the yoke, because you literally have a human being between you and the yoke of your jet. I'm thinking that you probably can probably serve in a much better, much more effective way than to put you and the person that you obviously want in danger. There is a little bit of restriction, right? You're not helpless. Doesn't make you any less passionate. It doesn't make you any less of a pilot. It could make things a little rougher to ride. It could mean that planes aren't necessarily going to be as agile if you got to start making, bubble cockpits or bubble shaped cockpits. Why are we tailoring to this right now? While China's military becomes more masculine and as it's assembled the world's largest navy, our military, as Joe Biden says, needs to become more feminine. Whatever feminine means anymore, since men and women no longer exist. That's a true statement. He didn't say that part, but seriously, what's more feminine? Because we're not allowed to. There's 97 genders, and I don't know. Do you see Halsey changed her pronouns to she, they? Who gives a crap? Who gives a crap? She was applauded, of course, by the he, they, she, they, them, they, who. She was then applauded by those people. But I'm pretty sure since she's pregnant, she's a she. Not necessarily. I guess there can be a they because it's her and the baby. But I don't think that's what she was going for. It's in that they, them, or something along that lines. I think she said because she's pregnant, she's feeling that she's a she. And I'm feeling that I'm an alien on this planet right now. The bottom line is, it's out of control, and the Pentagon is going along with it. Again, this is a mockery of the U.S. military, and it becomes, and it's a core mission, which is winning wars. It's a mockery of the military trying to win wars. All right. So, and after they're coming after Tucker Carlson simply because he is presenting that China is just making this beast of a fighting machine, and we're talking maternity outfits. They're making they just have men ready to fight. They are a simple zombie-like just buzzsaw. Now, I still say that as the American military, butts can still be kicked by our military, even with that buzzsaw that is known as the Chinese military. Butts can still be absolutely kicked. But we are going immediately to taking that away. We're taking away from our military. We're taking away from the military its strength. And that is the men that serve. The men that serve and arguably choose to go to the front lines in many situations. They are the ones that have gotten the job done. Again, it doesn't mean that women don't belong in the military. It doesn't mean that women can't serve honorably, passionately, fiercely in the military. But think about the situation where we're asking them to get in. We're asking them to, if a pregnant woman gets caught by the enemy, then what? I refuse to say that it's equally horrific if a man gets caught. I don't want either one of them to suffer any sort of torture or what have you. But can you imagine the pain that not only she is going through, but the country was going through, knowing that a pregnant young woman is in the hands of the enemy? That may be a selfish statement that I don't want to think about what a pregnant woman would have to endure with in the hands of the enemy. But I mean, why are we putting them in that situation in the first place? An unarmed Army official told military.com that it was imperative to figure out a way for it to be fair and genders. That statement adds to what Tucker was talking about. And that statement is referring to the Pentagon may reverse the U.S. Army's new gender-neutral physical fitness test for its male and female soldiers because more than half of the female soldiers are failing the test. This is what we're talking about. This is what Tucker was getting at. All right? And they're looking to make this, and there's a reason they're failing the test. According to Saturday's report from the Telegraph, the Army is considering a reversal of its new gender-neutral physical test to instead include different evaluation categories for men and women. I should say and or women because, again, who knows what's going on with the whole gender thing. A study from the Pentagon noted that at least 65% of female soldiers were failing the military Army combat fitness test. At least 90% of the male soldiers passed the test. In response to the study, Congress has halted implementation of the new test, and the military is looking into whether the test is actually fair. Is it fair to find out if you are physically capable of fighting in the worst conditions? Is it fair? Life is not fair. Exhausting statement. But I am very, very adamant about putting the best and the strongest people, the most passionate people, behind the guns in front of the lines. Is that too much to ask for? Is it too much to ask for? I don't expect 6'6", 215-pound man gets dropped the front line. And I do not expect a 145-pound woman to go over there and pick him up, put him on her shoulders, and run him back 50-some-odd yards under fire. I can't expect that. I can't expect that. It's just not. It's not a reasonable expectation. Is there someone? Sure. I'm sure there's a 145-pound woman, 5'5", 5'4", that could pick up a man and get him across to a safer location. Get him across 50 yards to a safer location. It's not going to be easy. It wouldn't be the same if another 6'3", 215-pound man were to do the same. Up on the shoulders, 50 yards to a safer location. And it's in men. It's in men, real men. It's in men to protect women. It's in men to protect women. Or just to help women. I was just looking at footage the other day, back at the January 6th breach of the Capitol, where the more Capitol Police showed up kind of behind the crowd. And there was a ledge that's probably about 1.5 feet high. From a sidewalk to a ledge that's 1.5 feet high, and that you would continue on a grassy knoll. all the officers jumping up, stepping up on this. I noticed 2 female officers helped by the same male officer that they could not get up that ledge, so he helped them up. He helped them up. Doesn't make them any less of an officer. What it does prove is that the men were physically capable of handling that particular situation. And the women, who could have done it, I'm sure, on their own, but were struggling. So the man went and he helped them, because that's what men do. Real men do. That same situation can't fly. At the front lines, it can't fly under the heavy stress of combat. Where I got to help you up the steps. There is indeed, you go through basic training and you're reaching down, you're doing the wall thing and you're helping your brother up. There is that. But if we need to get over the, over the pile to get into the foxhole, and, I got to reach back and help you get over, I'm going to do that. I'm going to do that. But now you've put us both under the, you've increased both of our chances of getting injured. Again, no one's saying that women shouldn't be in the military, and if you want, and women want to be on the front line, and you can. Damn it, I couldn't support it more. But that's a small percentage of women that can. And apparently, a small percentage of women that can make it, even make it that far. We're not going to artificially inflate the raw score for women, but we have to figure out a way to make it fair to both genders, the officer explained. We need a fair way that accounts physiological differences. If anything, it's more gender-neutral assessment process because it doesn't show the raw scores. Then it took a woman. Captain Kristen Griest, the Army's first female infantry officer, said the gender-neutral test should be scored the same for men and women. It took a woman to say that. I'm telling you now, with this whole gender back and forth, men are going to make better women than women, and women are going to have more balls than men. Captain Griest said the entire purpose of creating a gender-neutral test was to acknowledge the reality that each job has an objective physical standard to which all soldiers should be held, regardless of gender. The intent was not to ensure the women and men will have an equal likelihood of meeting those standards. Rather, it's incumbent upon women who volunteer for combat arms profession to ensure that they are capable and qualified for it. Thank you, Captain Griest, for stepping up. And I was gonna say I was gonna say manning up, but no, she was a woman. She's honest, straightforward, and realistic. Far more realistic than what this administration is trying to do with the military right now. And as for the military, there was some Marines that came out that tweeted to Tucker Carlson, calling him, sending, it was a picture of a Marine, a female Marine carrying someone. To me, it looked like another woman that she was carrying on the shoulders, like I was talking about before. I can't really say, because you can only see the back of the person that is carrying and the woman that's carrying it. So she's carrying someone on her shoulders, right? And they sent that picture, and it says, "This is what Marines look like now." It something about a wake up boomer or something like that, which Tucker Carlson's not a boomer. And that little back and forth between boomers and millennials, shut up already. Shut up. Monkeys. Jeez almighty. So they had to retract that. So that was recently retracted. And then we had a military high up that came after Tucker saying, "Hey, look, you shouldn't be talking about you're trying to degrade the United States military." Why is the military coming after a private citizen? Why? What does Tucker Carlson have to do with the military and any criticisms that he may have? Why is the military focused on a news guy and China is warming up the buzzsaw? That is where we're at right now. Man, there is so stinking much that is going in the wrong direction. That was two topics that are absolutely endless in muckery. Two stinking topics. You can go on forever on these particular things, because right now they are going to make the biggest impact in our country. Our military is being turned against its citizens. Our border is no longer a border. The smackdown is being set up. Ada Jet Noise, my friends. Thank you for joining me today. Ada Jet Noise on Rumble, Facebook, YouTube, Parler. Again, if they ever want to get their stuff together. Ada Jet Noise. Thank you for joining me again. And I will indeed see you tomorrow morning. I tell you, these Mondays and Fridays are always rough for me. And I wanted to get on yesterday, man. I wanted on so bad. But I put myself in a situation where I could not get on at the time that I wanted to and actually be necessarily effective. So Tuesdays, Wednesdays, and Thursdays always strong for me to get on the air. And I really, again, I said this long ago when I started this, I want to go live, and I want to go Monday through Friday. I'm working on that diligently, and I want you guys to be a part of it. I certainly want you guys to be a part of it, because this is a learning process for me, as it is for you. I get to inform you with some of the things that you may or may not know. And you can get you conversation starters, water cooler talk, information, news, what have you. Call it what you will. Again, you're going to have to start turning to schmucks like me to get any real information, because our mainstream media is gone amok. So if you cannot pull things down, you can always turn into someone like me. Anomaly, just brilliant. Eric D. July, brilliant. JP Sears, absolutely just a scream. And you're getting your information. There's so many more. The list is endless of schmucks like us giving you information that you're not going to get on the mainstream media. Not Fox, not CNN, not MSNBC, certainly not MSNBC. MSNBC is still talking about January 6th, about the breach. So, yeah. Tune into us. PR Conservative, another good one. And Joe Saladino. All good sources. You're going to have to turn into schmucks like us to get the information that you need. And again, my show is trying to do my show as best I can so you don't have to look at this. You just turn me on in the background and just listen. Just like a radio show. And my job is not to be right. My job is to start the conversation. So again, I thank you. Look me up, follow me, like me. Facebook, Rumble, YouTube. Hopefully Parler will be back for us. And I'll see you tomorrow. Thanks for joining me. Till then, big hug, be good, be still. Enjoy your life.